he's a very tall man. ball's way down there. She stood back here, and then the ball comes back this way, right there, but it doesn't kick in. You're gonna get an exercise and find that's just serious. Yeah. Yeah, they accentuate all the time. Yeah. Not at all. Or whatever, yeah. Just let them have fun. Lots of them in the next David, Crosby, or whoever you want to use. Yeah, they're so slim. They're taking that way too seriously. Word on.
Are you getting the same text I am? Here's the just administrating it, and then they should be breaking soon. That might be the perfect interruption.
How's everybody? Come on. Alex, you can come in as well. You might get the tough questions. I would just take the opportunity to say thank you to the community of Moose Jaw and the representatives that we have here that hosted us as a provincial cabinet here today, and hosted, I think, some very positive and productive discussion, at least from our perspective, very, very positive, is learning to, educating us to some degree as to, some of the very positive things that are happening in Moose Jaw, not only from an economic perspective, but from really a community building perspective, ensuring that we have a strong economy in our communities like Moose Jaw, but also the safety of our communities and enhancing and working together with, those individuals, the business community, as well as other individuals on ensuring that our communities are safe and securing our future as we look ahead. And at the end of the day, whether you serve as a provincial leader, community leader, or very much an effective and impactful organization that is operating in our communities, supporting families, all of us want the same thing. And that is a stronger and more vibrant community. So I also want to just make a comment before I get into one program in particular, the Helping Hands program here that has been put forward and funded by the city and the Downtown Moose Jaw Association, which I do want to speak to. But prior to that, I want to say thank you to the mayor and to the council in Moose Jaw for taking time last week, Mayor Murdoch, in Ottawa, alongside 7 other mayors, Suma, Sarm, Ministers Schmaltz and Cheveldayoff, in really representing Saskatchewan in a proactive discussion on, long-term infrastructure funding, the opportunity for long-term cost-shared infrastructure funding, federal, provincial, and municipal cost-shared infrastructure program funding, and the absence of that program here today and the need for it moving forward. And I think nowhere is that as evident as right here in downtown Moose Jaw, as that's how we were able to build the recreation facility here in Moose Jaw over a decade ago. And so many other communities have been beneficiaries of what was over 10 years ago the Building Canada program, which I think was the program that this project was approved under, and it morphed under a Liberal government into the ISIP program, and there is a need for that type of funding moving forward. And I want to say thank you to yourself and through you to the other mayors that were in Ottawa last week advocating in a positive way with our federal government on the importance of working together to build our communities and the infrastructure that we need, whether it be recreation, water, wastewater, whatever that might be. I do want to make a comment and say thank you in particular to what likely started as many, concerned business owners, but also families in the province, and to the Downtown Moose Jaw Association chaired by Alex Carlton. But I want to just highlight a program that has been spearheaded and operated by Shannon Simpson here called the Helping Hands program. Really providing, an opportunity for those that may have unfortunately entered a life of addictions and may be, living without a home. A Helping Hands program that is providing them some of the support and I think really providing some very real outcomes to individuals. And we must always remember, as you see the statistics, that there is an individual behind each and every one of those statistics, providing some real outcomes in improving individuals' lives, improving, I think, by extension, their families' lives. And we must remember that, as we see people that unfortunately may be living without a home, there is a reason behind that, whether it be mental health, addictions, or something else. But they're somebody's brother, sister, somebody's often mother, father, and certainly somebody's child. And we need to be part of a government and working alongside not only in this case the City of Moose Jaw and the Downtown Moose Jaw Association, but working with communities across the province to provide those supports that are so necessary, not just in our province, but across the nation of Canada. And so, Shannon, if you wanted to just speak a little bit to what the program is, the Helping Hands program, and some of the successes that you've seen, because they're real.
Hi. Like you said, my name is Shannon Simpson, and when I got hired on with the Downtown Business Association, one of my jobs was to spearhead this Helping Hands project, which at first I had no idea how we were going to do it. But we went around to some of the local agencies here and asked for, you know, give me a list of your 10 best workers. And then we met with them the next Monday, had a meeting with them and got them to work. We've seen huge successes with it. Lots of comments from the individuals as this has given me a purpose. I have something to look forward to. I've rebuilt my name through my community from this project. We've had probably 10 different workers through the program, and 5 of them have gained full-time employment and or out of their social housing situation they were in. To me, this program is near and dear to my heart because I've now learned the struggles that all these people have gone through and how hard it is to actually get out of them unless you have somebody that's going to make you be accountable and strive for more.
That's 50% success rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, thank you to Shannon and to the community of Moose Jaw for taking the initiative to not only fund, but stand behind a program that has real results and outcomes. And I think at the end of the day, whatever the program is, that's what we're all looking for, is outcomes for the individuals and ultimately, yes, a safer community, but a better life for, unfortunately, all too often individuals that have succumbed to a life of addictions, and the drugs that are available today, as I've said many times, are nothing short of poison. Any questions? Seeing none.
Mr. Premier, is the province going to give money to the Helping Hands program? Is that
This is, you know what, this was a great discussion this morning. One of my questions, in fairness, was, you know, what is the cost of the program, and you know, how would you ultimately be able to scale that in other communities as well? We are always looking for how can we be most have the greatest level of effect or outcomes on individual lives, and this is a program that certainly is having an effect and a positive effect and a positive outcome on you know, a significant percentage. 50% of the folks that entered the program were able to find a better future, if I could be so bold as saying that. We would love you know, to participate in a program that has those kinds of results. As we know, programs are also very dependent on the individuals that are operating them. And I just wanted to say thank you again to Shannon and the community of Moose Jaw for doing what they're doing in providing those positive outcomes in this community. But certainly, these are precisely the conversations that we want to have as to can we scale those into other communities and maybe even partner not only with Moose Jaw but other communities on you know, running a similar program that has those types of outcomes. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want, is for people to, you know, reach the aspirations that maybe they had prior to, you know, living in the streets or becoming homeless or living a life with addictions.
what's your purpose here in Moose Jaw today, specifically Helping Hands, or is that part of your?
No, our purpose isn't to engage with the community. You know, we have, you know, cabinet and caucus meetings in various communities around the province. We are a provincial government. I would think it's important for the provincial government to, you know, find their way out of Regina, in particular when we are not in session. And so we've had, you know, for example, a joint caucus meeting in Lloydminster with Alberta, the province of Alberta. We've had caucus meetings in other communities across the province and cabinet meetings as well in various communities. And so this is about engaging with the, you know, the local representation, whether it be mayor and council, or whether it be, you know, some of the organizations that are doing some, you know, very, very positive work here in the community, and listening and learning.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the Prime Minister's meeting with President Donald Trump yesterday and coming back without any kind of meeting.
Seem to be positive. I mean, you're always thankful when the president's in a good mood, and I think we're well represented by, you know, our Prime Minister Carney in his time not only in Washington but with other countries internationally as well. And so, you know, it seemed like a positive step forward. Obviously, I think the expectations were not high with respect to, you know, removing tariffs and that sort of thing from that particular meeting. However, there is a relationship that needs to advance, and I think it most certainly did yesterday. I would welcome as well the the advocacy that I've heard that maybe the conversation around Keystone XL was raised. Positive project for Western Canada, and really could go in tandem with opening up the opportunities that we have with expanding our access to Asian markets with a pipeline to the northwest coast, as well as one to the U.S. That would really provide us with some tremendous opportunities to expand a number of industries, not just the oil and gas industry in Alberta and Saskatchewan, but open up some rail capacity for us in the potash industry, for us in the agricultural industry, as well as shrink the basis on every barrel of oil is there, which essentially is a $10 to $12 price increase for Western Canadian oil. So that would be so positive for all Canadians, not just those in Alberta, but all Canadians. So we really welcome the conversation, and we really welcome, I think, as well the outreach that the Prime Minister has to not just myself, but subnational leaders across the nation in the lead up to some of these meetings that the Prime Minister partakes in. It's been refreshing.
Are you getting impatient at all for some kind of progress on these trade problems?
Hey, I'm impatient just to begin with. Each and every morning. I want to have access to all of the markets that are of interest to the industries that are creating wealth for Saskatchewan people. That wealth is so very important, and the strength of that economy is so very important if we are to work together with municipalities and organizations on supporting Saskatchewan people and families. That's where the investment comes, is from that wealth creation. And for Saskatchewan, and I would say largely Canada, that wealth creation is dependent on our export markets, which is dependent on our international relations. And so we're thankful. Yes, I'm impatient. I want them all to be solved today. However, I don't think that's realistic. And so we're supporting the Prime Minister and supporting the federal government in doing what we can in building those relationships. And we welcome the renewed focus that Prime Minister Carney has on building, true trade-based international relations, whether it be with China, whether it be with the U.S., whether it be with the European Union, whether it be with some of the ASEAN nations that he was in visiting and talking, and I think signed a trade intent or agreement as well in the not too distant past. And so we welcome that renewed focus on international relations, and we very much support it. We've always been focused on it, and we're using our international trade offices in the context that we have to support our Canadian government in advancing all of those conversations, including with the United States of America. But to your point, yes, I want all of those markets opened up, preferably tariff-free, sooner rather than later.
The last few days we've been hearing a lot from Premier Smith and from Premier Eby about a possible new pipeline.
Yeah.
Some, I think, strong thoughts about Premier Eby's comments.
Yeah, I would say they don't matter, much like my comments. This is a federal decision. Like the TMX pipeline was as well. I would say that the TMX pipeline was absorbed and paid for by the federal government because of a faulty regulatory regime that we have here, where a private sector proponent couldn't step into that space. We would support Premier Smith in saying we need to fix the regulatory environment that we have so that a private sector can actually step into that space and fund that project. And we would, mirror in many ways the asks that she has in front of the federal government to do so. Herein lies the opportunity for us as Canadians, and this is a truly generational nation-building project that benefits all Canadians from coast to coast to coast. We want to increase our investment in our military to ensure that we are a sovereign nation, not just today, but for generations to come. The way for us to do that is to actually build our economy to the level that we would have, as the Prime Minister Carney had aspired and said, to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest economy in the G7 nations. This is the way you do it. You allow for investments like this to happen, to expand all industries, whether it be the manufacturing industry in central and eastern Canada, or whether it be the natural resource-based industry here in the western part of our nation, which includes oil and gas. And so, we very much stand behind this project. We think it is very much going to be beneficial for all Canadians, as we would be very, very supportive of raising the discussion of adding and producing more of the world, some of the world's most sustainable oil, and providing it not only to Asian markets through that West Coast access point, but providing more of it to our American allies as well through Keystone XL. This is an exciting time. And I would say, I have never been more bullish on the future of not just our province of Saskatchewan, but Canada, if we get the next 10 decisions right. And many of those are in the federal realm, and we really look to and will be trying our level best to advocate and advise the Prime Minister on what those decisions would be. But if we get them right, our economy in this nation really has a chance to expand to the degree that we haven't seen in generations past.
You've been very strong in the past when it comes to provincial autonomy on a lot of different subjects.
Certainly.
Why does that not apply to BC and Premier Eby?
Because they have no standing. With respect to, a pipeline is entirely in the federal realm of decision-making. Interprovincial pipelines, that is a decision for the federal government to make. And when it comes to the development of natural resources, how we create our power, all of those types, by the very Constitution, those are in the provincial jurisdiction. And so it isn't that I think one thing in one instance and another. I actually believe that the Constitution sets this out and sets it out very clearly. And when it comes to, how could we transport product, whether it be on rail or by pipe, to a Canadian port, not a British Columbian port, but to a Canadian port. And I would remind everyone in British Columbia that we are Canadians in this province as well, and we certainly are not landlocked because we have access to those Canadian ports through rail, and we're asking for additional access through a pipe so that we can actually free up that rail for products that can't travel through a pipe, like potash, like the agricultural products that we produce. And we want to produce more of those products and make them available to the world as well. So by the very letter of the Constitution, whether or not a pipeline moves forward like TMX, that is a federal decision. It's not Premier Eby's decision. It's not the NDP's decision to stop it. And in fairness, it's not, Premier Smith can be the proponent, and we support that. However, the decision on whether it moves forward is not a provincial decision. It's a federal decision. Unlike when it comes to the development of our natural resources, which is entirely in the province's jurisdiction, by the very letter of the Constitution. So it isn't in any way a difference of thinking. It's how the Constitution is actually laid out here. And that is, I would say, the very document that, holds this nation together.
So I go to a letter for other premiers on the Notwithstanding case for the Supreme Court.
For sure.
Provide some details on why you signed?
Well, certainly, the Notwithstanding clause is part of the very Constitution that I was referencing that holds this nation together. What we're seeing, and I'm fearful that in many ways we see Minister Fraser, putting forward, the opportunity for the courts to actually change the very intent of the Constitution that is the very foundation of how Canada exists. We don't think that is correct. The Notwithstanding clause was put in place so that when there is a collision, to Alan Blakeney's terms, when there is a collision of conversation on the Constitution and what the elected governments of the day decide, they have the ability to use Section 33, the Notwithstanding clause, of which Quebec has used numerous times, to ensure that people's rights are being respected and are being advanced. And that is I think the very fundamental foundation of not only our nation, but of the democracy that we have and value, whether it be provincial governments or the federal government. I would point to, not long ago, we had used Section 33, the Notwithstanding clause, to ensure that parents had a choice on where to send their children to school in the Theodore case. And it was necessary in that case to allow parents to choose whether their children would attend the separate school system or the public school system, of which there was a ruling made by the courts that was taking that choice away from parents. And so, that's a very recent, I think, use of that clause where it was very, very necessary to protect the rights of parents.
Was that the specific basis of this letter, or how did it come about?
It was just through discussions with a number of other premiers with respect to essentially asking the federal government to cease and desist their advancing their argument at the Supreme Court that would, if successful, reduce the rights of duly elected governments in a democracy. I fundamentally don't think that's correct, and I would ask very publicly for Sean Fraser to remove the federal aspirations that they have in the court of law. The Constitution is the very heart and soul and the foundation of how this nation operates, and I would say what is the glue that keeps this nation together, and it should be respected, and you shouldn't try to circumvent and use the courts to change it. There are ways to change the Constitution. This is not the correct method.
It's not enough just to wait and let the court decide on that part?
What we're trying, what the ask is for the courts to make a decision that fundamentally would change the intent and the opportunity that elected governments have to represent their constituents. I don't think that's correct.
Have you heard back from, you're going to be heard back from the Supreme Court about your trying to speed up the
I don't know the answer to that. Tim, do you?
No, I think your question is whether or not we know whether our appeal will be heard together with the Quebec appeal, and we haven't received word on the court's decision on that. They have the opportunity to either hear them separately, to hear one before the other, or to put them together to be heard. I think to the Premier's point, the substantive issue that is being decided upon in the cases isn't the issue. The issue here is whether or not the court should be limiting the legislature's use of Section 33. It's important and cannot be overstated that we wouldn't have a charter but for the fact that Section 33 exists. It was the compromise that led to us having a charter. It's included in the charter for the very purpose of allowing the electorate to say that this matters so much, we are going to overrule the certain sections preceding it. So we would not have a Charter of Rights and Freedoms but for the inclusion of Section 33. To ask a court to then fetter or limit the use of Section 33 is asking them to limit the use of the entire Charter. And that's, to the Premier's point, we believe to be fundamentally unacceptable. Sure. I'll take this opportunity just to thank our mayor and the Downtown Business Association and the Moose Jaw District Chamber of Commerce, who all joined the cabinet here this morning, and my legislative colleagues from Moose Jaw, Waccamaw, and Lumsden Morris, to share their thoughts, their feedback on what's happening in our community. It was a great opportunity, a great discussion, and I'd like to ask the Mayor, James Murdoch, if he would share some thoughts on that conversation.
Thank you, Minister McLeod and Premier Moe, for your presence this morning in our great city of Moose Jaw. This morning, discussions with the Ministry of Social Services were communicated with me and others that effective immediately, the relocating of temporary shelter for our needy and vulnerable and unhoused, the process will begin to see that current location in our downtown district will be relocated to another area in our community. We will continue to have open dialogue with the Ministry of Social Services. They have asked that the city provide locations that we may feel may be appropriate. So those discussions will start as they have already this morning. And there will be further dialogue to be communicated over the coming weeks with regards to some proposals for that. So,
Why you want to boot it out of the downtown?
That there would, I believe that the case has been provided with the downtown businesses that we need to remember that the downtown core and district is vital to the operation of the city and for enhancing what we offer for services. So the ministry feels that the best way for that to be achieved is to see that a permanent temporary shelter be relocated in an appropriate area in the city of Moose Jaw.
Where would an appropriate location be?
That's a very good question. This was just brought up to me this morning, so talks will begin.
So the city didn't ask for the relocation, it was the ministry that brought it up?
This was a directive from the ministry, and they've asked for the city's input, so we will provide.
The new locations, it could be the same number of beds has increased?
I do not have answers for that, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yeah.
The Downtown Association asked for this to be moved?
No, they did not.
Thanks, everybody. I'll maybe have a comment on that as well, Mayor. And Alex or John, you might have a comment on this as well. Listen, this isn't about reducing services in any way, quite the opposite, actually, enhancing services for those that may be unhoused and supporting some of the root causes as to why that might be the case in their life. And so those services are necessary, not just in Moose Jaw, but in many of our urban and rural centres across Saskatchewan and across Canada. And so it's not about reducing those services, but it's about reducing maybe some of the peripheral impact that providing those services might have on the safety of our communities. And, you know, we are very much in tune and focused on using the strength of the Saskatchewan economy to work alongside our communities and families to ensure that we have, yes, safe communities in providing the supports that those individuals might need, but also providing the enforcement supports to keep our communities safe as well, because it needs to be, although the supports need to be there for those, unfortunately, that have, you know, entered a life without a home, the supports actually have to be there as well to keep our broader community safe as well, so a family can go to a park or for a walk downtown with their children after supper. And so with respect to, you know, some of the reasoning behind why we might want or choose or work together to find a different location to provide the services that are also necessary here in Moose Jaw and other communities, Alex or John, if you wanted to speak to that, you're more than welcome.
Sure. Just to clarify, this is Willow Lodge, not Square One?
This is Willow, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. What the mayor is referring to is the relocation of the services provided at Willow Lodge, and as the Premier said, not in any way looking to reduce the amount of service. And I just want to clarify as well, while the request may not have come directly to the mayor, that the question that was posed to him was whether he had heard those requests. He may not have heard them directly from the Downtown Association or from providers. However, my colleagues and I have very much heard a direct request for relocation of those services outside of the downtown. When we introduced those temporary shelter services, it was in collaboration with the municipalities that they would find the location and that the province would fund the spaces. That continues. And so the request of the city is really to work together with the Ministry of Social Services to identify a location that the city feels is appropriate, that isn't negatively impacting the downtown businesses and the surrounding residents in the area, who have very much expressed concern to MLA Patterson, myself, and Minister Jensen with Social Services as well. So it's a collaborative conversation, and one that I'll ask Alex to maybe elaborate a little bit more on, because the conversation has been very much ongoing together with the downtown businesses and the residents who are reaching out to their locally elected.
Well, I thought you covered it pretty well.
Sorry, just for the tape, can I get you to say and spell your name, please?
Sorry?
Can I get you to say and spell your name and your...
Alex Carleton, Carleton.
Your, I guess, title...
I'm sorry, I'm the chair of the Moose Jaw Downtown Association.
So just to clarify, it sounded like what Minister McLeod just said is that the mayor and city council were left out of this collaborative discussion, and that downtown business owners went directly to the province, which then told them today that this is what will be happening.
Well, we're just finding out this today as well, but I think there's been there's a lot of passionate business owners that are worried about their livelihood, and we're trying to come up with ways to be compassionate and work with people in our community and in helping them. But on the same hand, our tourism is very important, and our businesses are, have to be we have to be mindful of them, and we want to make sure that we're protecting our downtown. So in order, coming up with ways that we can, like the Helping Hands program, that we're able to help people in need and are homeless and unhoused, but also, we're a tourist town, and we want to make sure that we're going in the right direction for our businesses as well.
Are there a lot of problems, incidents downtown?
Well, I think there's Yes, there's a number of of problems, and some of these things that if we're going to have shelters that are in need, to help people in need. I personally think that we can have those and we can help people, and that they do not need to be in our downtown, and we can still be protecting our businesses.
Is the shelter the problem though? Is it causing the main problem for businesses?
Well, if we have I think like every city in our province, if we're going to be serious about tourism, it's hard to also have numerous people homeless on our streets, and some of the challenges that they bring, and also trying to welcome tourists. So that's a problem that Moose Jaw is having, I'm sure, like as Regina and Saskatoon have with their downtowns. So we're trying to work with that the best we can.
I guess, is it specifically homeless people who are harassing businesses, or is it less fortunate, or is it a mixture?
I don't know. I haven't gone up and asked them.
Because, you do have less fortunate people living downtown as well.
Pardon me?
There are less fortunate people who live downtown as well, so,
well,
the homeless shelter seems kind of like you're picking on it.
I'm certainly not, I'm here on behalf of the Downtown Association, and we're about doing beautification and projects downtown and being supportive of our downtown businesses. So that being said, we're not in the shelter business. So we're here to support any positive news for our downtown, and to support those like our Helping Hands project, and doing things that's supporting the less fortunate. So as a business owner, you have to be able to do both.
Could I comment on this, Alex?
Sure.
The provincial government is in the shelter business, unfortunately, largely due to the poisonous drugs that are in our nation and in our communities here in the province. And it needs to end. We need to do everything that we can to support individuals to a positive and better outcome, like the Helping Hands program. And if there's opportunities for us to replicate programs like this, we want to have a very serious look at that. We need to support individuals as well, unfortunately, that are living a life without a home. And we need to work together with communities and businesses and families right across this province in what that support looks like. There's no doubt that when there is a temporary shelter, which is part of the transition to an individual aspiring to a better life, maybe a temporary shelter for a number of days, going into a supportive living environment, going into, like the Helping Hands program, into a work environment or transitional work environment that is, providing really the ever important step of a feeling of accomplishment for individuals each and every day that they can aspire to the next day. And so I would say the root cause of many of the challenges that we're seeing across Canada are the poisonous drugs that are in our community. And so we're doing our level best to work with communities to provide those recovery supports, those transitional housing supports, which include a temporary shelter, of which is a conversation on its location and how we support individuals to view it as a temporary shelter and to transition through those opportunities for housing that we have. The second piece of this, understanding the root cause is not people but drugs, is enforcement. And it's still illegal to use drugs in a public space. It's illegal to be loitering and to be breaking into often areas in our communities, whether they be rural or urban, to all too often support a drug habit. And so there is an enforcement piece to this, and that's why we have invested heavily in additional police officers, streamlining our court systems, enhancing access points to those recovery opportunities like drug courts, like the complex needs facilities that we have, and really enhancing the opportunity for individuals to not choose a life on the streets, but to actually choose a life of recovery and aspiring to some of the things that maybe they aspired to prior to unfortunately entering that life. This fall, you will also see the conversation, like you're seeing in Alberta and British Columbia, by this government on compassionate care and the potential for compassionate care legislation, ensuring that we are giving our communities communities, our families, all of the support and the tools that we require so that people can choose that recovery path, or in the case where they are not choosing it, provide them some added incentive and add the tools for the courts and our communities to ensure that they are going to not choose a life on the streets, because we can all agree on this, regardless of the steps that us and other governments might be looking at. We can all agree on this. The streets is the most vulnerable place for someone to live, and we need to do our level best to provide them with other options, and that's what we're trying to do. And often it starts with temporary emergency shelters, but always with the aspiration of having positive outcomes, and that being a temporary shelter moving into other levels of housing for that individual. That's the goal, and I think we share that goal.
How many addiction treatment spaces are there available in Moose Jaw?
Pardon me?
How many addiction treatment spaces are there available in Moose Jaw?
They're provincial spaces. I think we've committed to 500. Our initial commitment was 150. I think we're approaching 300, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to ask where we are right now, and we're trying to build them out as quickly as we possibly can. Where they're located is less important than whether or not they're accessible. And so in addition to building the recovery bed capacity that we have, we're trying to build those access points. For example, a compassionate care piece of legislation would be an access point. An urgent care center like the one operating in Regina, as we know, the one side of that is specifically an access point for someone that may be having a mental health crisis or unfortunately living a life with addictions, to access recovery services in the province. Our complex needs facilities are an access point. And I would speak just maybe very specifically to the way that you leave a complex need facility in this province, because you come in under arrest. The way you leave at the 24-hour mark is the police will come and release you like they would in any other arrest case. 2 is you have a family member that will come and pick you up. Or 3, and the most common way to be released from a complex needs facility is that you self-refer to addiction services. We have in Saskatoon over a 90% self-referral rate. So in the deepest, darkest moments of an individual's life where they have come into a provincial complex needs facility under arrest, within 24 hours, over 90% of those individuals are self-referring, asking for recovery services. As long as that level of ask is there, I want to certainly be part of a government that is building out the capacity for those individuals to access, and I want to be part of a government that is providing them the access points so that they can actually achieve, or at least attempt to achieve, the opportunity for a better life. I think that we all share in that ambition wherever we might live in this province. That's an incredible number.
Perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Super.
Make it.